Viewer discretion is advised. Your fave will be criticized.
That's Chris.
That's Shan.
And welcome to CCTV, the nonstop pop show.
And today we are entering the world and discussing ATEEZ's Guerrilla.
If you're wondering who we are, Chris and I have a huge range of experience in the music industry, from performing to working at record labels. So we have a lot of insight into this crazy music industry. So come join us on patreon.com/CCTVPops if you'd like to join us on these awesome conversations. And shout out to our CCTV crew members, Lisette, Lily, and Emily. Woo!
All right. So we're discussing ATEEZ today. We haven't done an episode on them in a while. So any new thoughts for you on them?
Overall, I'm not an ATEEZ, but I do enjoy their songs, and I do enjoy their dancing. I did not like that last single. That last single was a cluster duck. I could do without it. It wasn't great. It doesn't do anything for me. But I do appreciate what they're doing and what they're bringing to the table in the sense of like groups and whatnot, because they are noisy, but they're not like EDM noisy. They're like hip hop noisy. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like a part of me is always going to kind of like it because it's hip hop noise. So what about you? How do you feel about ATEEZ?
Yeah, so since the last episode, I have actually seen them in concert when they came to New York at the beginning of the year. And I have to say, I wasn't a huge fan before, and I didn't really know what I was going in for. But I was so impressed, and it was one of the best concerts I've been to all year so far. They're really, really good performers. They sang live basically the entire time and kept the energy up the whole time. And I kind of understand now their concept a little better, that their music is made for an arena. It's made for a stadium, you know, like you really do feel the energy, and all the noisiness of it makes sense in that setting. So while I still don't love them, like I wouldn't like listen to a lot of their music, you know, like just casually. But I do love watching them perform. I would love to see them when they come on tour again. Like they were really, really good performers. So
I'd want to too, honestly. I definitely would want to do that as well. So, you know, let's see. Let's find out if this song, Guerrilla, is a bop or a flippity flop.
This is It Boppin'? Here, we listen to the song and discuss the production, lyrics, video, and everything in between. So let's find out, is it a bop or a flop?
All right, so this song, the title track from The World, not to be mistaken with _World by 17, Guerrilla, is produced by Eden, Olander, Buddy, Lees, Maddox, and members Hongjung and Mingi. And it's very interesting because the production was taken care of by Olander, who has worked who has worked with Dreamcatcher on songs like Boca and mostly almost all of the good ones, good songs. So it's interesting to hear all that rock in here. You can definitely hear it once you realize, oh, that's who that guy is. So I'm gonna let you kick us off. What did you think about this song?
Yeah, I mean,
and the production.
Yeah, I think production-wise, the song does have some really cool moments overall. I think now that I'm more used to their sound and the shoutiness of it, now it's not as jarring. It's not as jarring, so I'm able to kind of take in the rest of it. So I think the build actually is really cool. I like the distorted lower synths that kind of do the first half of the song. Then that bridge is my absolute favorite part, where it does sound like a Dreamcatcher song, because then the real instruments kind of kick in, the real drums kick in. And it's also a bit more melodic. And then all of that leading into that kind of chant, a dance breakdown, then into just the high energy end where it all kind of goes crazy and kind of comes together. I love just the overall build of the whole track. I think they did a really, really good job. And though the chorus is literal shouting, I do appreciate the backing vocals and the layers that are in there. There is a lot of dynamic. So yeah, I think I did try and listen to the song before watching the visual, and the whole time I was kind of just like, okay, I'm excited to see how they perform it, you know. So yeah, but yeah, what did you think of it?
Yes. You know what? I know what you mean. I did exactly the same thing. I was like, let me listen to it first. So my phone would not let me play this song. I was traveling, and I'm like, I only got to the first verse each time. I'm like, what the hell? But yeah, no, I think this song is interesting because it has, I'm just going to add what you're saying. It has like all the elements of rock and hip hop that I enjoy. I feel like this is like a Neptune, Linkin Park, Slipknot baby, because there's so many different kinds of just rock influences in it. It's not just metal. It's not just punk. It's not just like this hip hop trappy thing. It's a amalgamation of all of that, and you can definitely hear it. Like this cool dirty guitar riff is really edgy, and that gives me very much Neptunes. Like if you're a Neptunes fan, you'll hear all those like kind of like, okay, is this a rock song? Oh no, it's just a black guy and an Asian guy making some bomb music, you know? And I think what's really interesting is that the chorus leans towards this like Phrygian effect where it kind of sounds like I could be wrong. My theory is not great, but it does kind of have like this exotic kind of tense feel to it. And I think that's a nice kind of juxtaposition to how intense and rocky the song is, but then it picks back up again with this like bump, 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 bump as the pre-chorus goes on. So I do enjoy that. And then I think my opinions for the bridge is the same. That live band sound is absolutely fabulous, and certain sounds in it kind of reminded me of like a breakdown that Mike Shinoda would throw in a Linkin Park song. Something about it just felt, I'm like, Chester, can you hear it? The influences. And then of course I just thought, I feel like at the end with the metal kind of approach that we're going to talk about with the vocals and the screaming, I feel like if they would have just kind of gone for that little double bass, that just kind of just give me a nice little drum roll out, I would have been a little bit excited. But that's more of like a live band kind of thing, and then like a former metal fan's wish and dream, but we let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, actually thinking of that would have actually been interesting if they kind of made it even more metal. Like if it even got a little more kind of screamo at the end, that actually would have been really interesting. Ooh,
right?
Okay, so that's okay.
See?
So they unfortunately didn't do that. The vocals were a balance between, I think, first off, the two rappers, Hongjung and Mingi. They're really great balance. And I thought the same when I saw them live too. They're very different stylistically. So whenever you hear their verses, it's just refreshing. Like they're very different. And the way this song structure was where they handle the verses and then the vocalists come in and handle the pre-choruses. I liked the way they structured it this time around. Vocalist wise, I cannot praise Jong Ho enough. I was so impressed in that show. He is for sure one of the best male vocalists in the current music industry world. His power, the breath control, the pitch control, like he's absolutely insane. And he holds that up throughout their like 2.5 hour show, which is absolutely crazy. And I love the vocal slides that are in this song. He sounds really, really good. Yeah.
That's what I said too.
Yeah. And also San also really stands out to me, just tonally. He has a thinner voice and a really beautiful falsetto. And so when he's doing the pre-choruses and stuff, it does balance very well with what is then a very shouty chorus. So at least there is all of that juxtaposition and kind of different dynamics throughout it. But yeah, so vocally, they're solid. I will say the rest of the vocalists sometimes blend a little bit for me. Like I can't really tell them apart. But they all hold it down. Like none of them are bad at all. It's just they just have similar tones. So.
Yes. That way, I always notice that happening in K-pop groups. I mean, what Chris and I are saying when they say, "Oh, they kind of sound alike," that's kind of what happens a lot. They get this one member who is like the lead, and then having the sub vocals kind of match the lead. Because I've noticed it. If you lose a member, the sub vocals usually step up and then sing the part that the lead vocalist would have been singing. And I'm like, oh, there's a method to the madness, I guess. Or if they're sick or whatever, not just leaving the group. My bad. It doesn't have to be extreme. But yeah, I think you're right with the juxtaposition of the two rappers. Like Mingi is the more quote unquote deeper voiced rapper, but he's still almost just as wild as Hongjun is. It's just Hongjun's more playful. His idea of rapping and then starting to kind of like do like a little chanty thing that's in the first verse.
Yes.
When he's like, I was like, come on, that's cool. It's earwormy. He's more playful in the sense that like, I mean, Juhan and I.M are kind of playful with their verses, but everyone knows like Juhan's like, hello, I'm an alligator, and some other crap, like, excuse my charisma, things like that, catchphrases. Hungjung's more like that. But Mingi, he'll have a little moment. You're like, oh, I like that. He rides the beat that is given to him and kind of just, he has his own thing. So I think that's what makes them very different. And you're right, San's falsetto was great. And even him kind of like singing in tandem with Jung Ho in the bridge was actually quite nice as well. I think Woo Young and Young Ho and Yo Sung, if I'm not mistaken, I did hear them, but they just didn't stand out as much as like the other members did. And I think even Sung Hwa, I was just kind of like, is this Sung Hwa? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But blanking on his name, but he has this very like throaty kind of delivery when he sings sometimes. He just didn't stand out. but everyone else that we kind of highlighted definitely does that for me. And I don't know who did the little the vocal fry scream at the end. I'm not sure if that's like a demo vocalist doing it or one of the members, but with the little metal scream in the bridge. But oh my God, I wish I knew who did it because it sounded pretty good. And it's hard to kind of do that overtone thing with screamo. People think it's just screaming, but it's actually a technique.
I want to say it's Jongho, but if ATEEZ, correct us if we're wrong. Yeah. I have no idea.
I mean, shoot, I'm all open for it. I'm all open for it. But yeah, and also I have to say vocally, like the arrangement of it almost kind of was leaning toward how SM would stack their vocals where they would pan to the right and have a center vocal. Like the way they do it, they have many center layers and then panning to right and left, which isn't bad. It's just one of those things where SM kind of just took it and ran with it, but it didn't sound like an SM song. All I'm saying is that it's just kind of had like that fullness, that surround sound. And speaking of being surrounded, the lyrics for Guerrilla are very reminiscent of being a guerrilla squad. So I definitely appreciate the whole, like, we're gonna rage against the machine. Talking about another rock band, rage against the machine, no pun intended. Being very just like, break outside of the status quo, shift the paradigm, all that kind of stuff. What did you think about the lyrics?
Yeah, I think since this is the start of their new era, right? This is the World EP1 out of I don't know how many, right? So as an intro, as this like first battle cry, set up for this idea that they're this, group fighting against the masses. I like this. I think it's really cool. Like imagine this like starting the concert, like this, it's such a cool track for that. And there were some little kind of clever little notes in the lyrics as well. And yeah, I enjoyed the way it was structured. It was just like a good battle cry, and it wasn't too cheesy because I think that can go a little cheesy sometimes. So I think they did a good job with that balance for sure.
Yeah, I think this is a nice little kind of pass off from Wonderland. This one's just a little bit more aggressive and rock. This is how we shout. Yeah, they were shouting. And speaking of being guerrilla warriors or guerrilla men, guerrilla fighters, excuse me. The video is definitely reminiscent of that. I think it's so funny how in the beginning, literally, is it San? No, that's not. It's Hongjung. He's wearing someone's face as a hat. I thought that was great. I like seeing him. It's ripping off the mask. I'm like, that's a white man. Oh, that's not a white man. It's a whole Korean man underneath. So I just thought it was so funny. Like, oh, wear your face as a hat. So it's interesting how they're setting up the speaker to kind of give up their PSA, their, as you say, their battle cry, their twilight bark, if you have seen 101 Dalmatians, with the speakers having this little circular effect. I thought that was really nice. And there were some scenes here and there that I really, really enjoyed. And I say they're actually kind of what's called world building with this music video. Yeah, we're getting back into another storyline. I'm glad they've left behind the whatever was going on with the Treasure albums or
like the pirate thing.
Album was called. Yeah, the pirate thing wasn't bad, but even with Deja Vu, they were still trying to tie in that their mythos, and it's unnecessary at points like that because Deja Vu is a love song about missing how good someone feels to you, like things like that. And then
But here's the thing: is I appreciate the continuity with that kind of thing because it is hard to stand out, right? Because there are just so many K-pop groups, so I kind of like that they do that, and that they really do focus on a story and like what their theme is. And it's not just
it's totally
all their concepts just kind of being random every time. Like I kind of like that they really stick to a concept and throw everything at it. Yeah.
It's cool, but it was going on for a couple years. Like, we were, how you and I were watching it, and then I was just like, oh my God, wait, this is from that first album, and this one, and we were like, yeah, I wouldn't know that. Like, things like that, because it's been years. If it was just like a couple months ago,
right,
like, one album, right?
That's true, yeah.
So I'm glad they're kind of starting a different arc, in a sense. I like the scenes where the TV screen was getting kind of hacked. I like the microphone scene where they're on air. I didn't really care for the green screen dancing performance areas because they just didn't look great.
I will say I didn't mind that one that was just like a white wall and they're just on like a concrete slab. I thought that was fine.
Yeah,
it was the stage with the fake city in the back.
Where
I was like, okay, that's completely different because everything else in the video is so gritty, right? The dirty elevator, the phone booth, and like that bunker thing that they're in. And then you have that weird like fake city stage. Like, I was like, this is totally not working for me. So I agree. That's actually the only scene that I didn't love, I think, from the whole thing.
Yeah.
My favorite part is that slow-mo shot with the flags and the smoke and
Oh my God,
everything.
yeah, that was
So cool. A
cool.
little,
Yeah.
very like Les Miserables kind of, that's, I feel like what I imagine on a
I'm
stage
crying.
production. But that was such a
Yeah.
good visual. And again, it's like that initial battle cry, like they're rallying. So I loved that. The blimp releasing all the flyers at the end is very Money Heist. I know it wasn't money that
Oh
came
my God,
down,
yeah,
but that
yeah.
whole idea, because they also did
Yeah.
it, from, so
Yeah.
sorry for the spoilers if you haven't seen Money Heist, but,
Watch it.
but it was a cool visual. And again, I kind of like that this whole thing is just a big setup for whatever this new concept is. And of course they then tease it
Yeah.
at the end, that little boy ran away from that facility and he Prestige Academy. And so, yeah, I think it's fun now that I'm kind of more, in tune with what they're doing. Like, I'm a little above a casual fan now, right? Just because I kind of know their music a little better.
Levels,
So now I'm actually like, I'll remember, right, the next music
Mm-hmm.
video when they start it, when it's about the Prestige Academy and it's about a boy. I will be able to tie that back now. So I think it is good because it does kind of almost force you to remember them in a way. So yeah, but yeah, as a casual fan, it is confusing for sure. The references don't make sense, but yeah, now that I'm a little more in it, I'm like kind of into it.
I respect that, but you're right. It just helps you kind of just put two and two together and be like, oh my God, what was that? I'm gonna look for it later. Yeah, the whole like Che Guevara, like that revolutionary. That's that whole thing they were going for, and I think you can even see it in the choreography. The choreography for this is not super complicated. It's not like a Wonderland choreography. It's not like an Inception's choreography where they're breaking their necks and still singing. I like that they're actually looking like a boy group and not like a dance troupe from World of Dance or like like some random. They don't look like a dance crew, which I appreciate because we all know they can dance. We've seen them on Kingdom. We've seen them with the concept. We get it. You can dance. I'm happy that they actually were kind of just using formations and actually performing and being allowed to breathe, letting the background dancers enhance them. I love the diagonals in this dance. I'm not sure what the point dance is, the gorilla thing here with the hand.
I don't know
really
either,
sure what the
actually.
point dance
I don't know.
even after watching the performance, I was like, no.
Yeah.
Did you watch the performance?
I did. Yeah. So first off, can I just say they sang live, which again, so impressive that they usually do. I don't know if I've ever seen them lip sync actually. And yeah, shout out to San. Before I even get into it, oh my God, I was watching just like their like the one where they just show everyone, right? Like the fan cam of the whole stage.
Oh yeah.
And it is so hard not to just watch him the whole time. I felt the same at the concert. I found myself just watching him a lot because he is just on another level. Not saying the rest of the guys can't dance, of course, but he is literally like the way his neck, for example, is
oh my God,
he goes off with the way he uses his neck, and also his hips are a little just looser or more flexible than the others. So when he's like getting into things, he just sits into things more than the others, and so he stands out in a good way, but he stands out a lot. So like I just want to watch him. So I had to very consciously not just stare at him the whole time. So yeah,
don't just look at
overall though, the dynamics are really awesome. I agree. I'm glad it wasn't crazy choreo the whole time. There are a lot of good pictures in here. My favorite part is actually in the second pre-chorus. I forget who's singing, but they're all just doing these like various poses and looking around, covering their eyes, and there are levels and there's like layers to it. Just very visually pleasing, and it matched the musicality of that song. And it just shows that like, when you're performing on stage, like it's those simple moments that stand out. You don't need to be doing these crazy 1E and a 2E and a crazy, dance moves the whole time. I will say the chorus is still very, very sharp though. Your arms need to be so tight for that. Because it's tough. Like if I tried it, I'd just look like I was flailing for sure.
Oh my God, stop. I see you do some good choreography. I'm like, damn, okay.
Yeah, but I'm lanky, so like a lot of arm stuff never looks great on me. Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah. It was Young Ho's part with the hands, because then San came after and was like doing some neck thing, and I was like,
girl.
But he has good but seriously, it's hard not to be like, oh my God, because the amount of control he has, even when they're doing like you said, the sharpness, he contracts and has like this little internal pop thing. Even Seonghwa him and Seonghwa are kind of like, because Sungwa doesn't like go all out like, all the time, you can see certain things that he does. You're like, okay, they're even kiltered in a sense of like dancing. But of course, San stands out more because Sungwa kind of gives a little bit of the same like internal pop, kind of a quick contraction. You're like, ooh, I felt that somewhere other than my diaphragm, you know? It just feels very like they're both just like very like there for me. But yeah, of course, San is that guy. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the choreography was really interesting. But again, I'm happy that they weren't killing themselves. It just seems fun. Like I feel like I would want to learn this as well. I like the kind of like shouldery thing that they were doing. But yeah, I don't know if this is the point dance or not. But ATEEZ, if you do know, holla at your girl.
And for those listening, she's doing that thing at the end of the chorus where they're all like using their hands to like slowly wrap in.
Yeah, the gorillas.
Yeah. Okay, so in the grand scheme of the back catalog of ATEEZ, what would you rate this song?
Not even to compare to the back catalog too much, because I think this one is leaning a little further away from their EDM start and then kind of leaning a little bit further away from the hip hop middle. We're at the present now where they're taking on this more rocker sound, and even the album kind of had a little bit more elements of just like hip hop rock. I would actually give this an 8. I no complaints really, aside from just like it's noisy, but I don't hate it.
Yeah,
I don't hate it. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, I'm going to give it an 8.5. I will definitely keep an eye out for all these comeback performances because they really are just so strong, and I think this song is a great performance track. And I'm very intrigued by what's coming next. So I think it's doing its job. So 8.5. Yeah. All right. So then, as we said, it is the start of the era. So what are you hoping is next?
I'm hoping they don't ever go back to that other single they had. I cannot think of the name right now. I've completely just pushed it out of my brain. But yeah, I mean, everything seems to be doing pretty good for them, and I hope that if they do contain this rock sound, they can do pretty well with it. There's so many different sounds in rock that they can explore. I mean, right now I don't have anything in mind because I'm not like a huge fan. I don't really keep my eye on them, like quote unquote. Maybe I should, but yeah, I enjoy them. I hope they don't do any more like random like competition shows because they don't need to. They really don't need to at this point. They don't need to. But yeah, I don't have anything in mind. I'm like, oh my god, I need to see them do this. But I feel like you may have some type of like some hopes for them that might gonna provide some excitement for me because I'm just like,
yeah. Well, so I think you're talking about The Real. Which I agree. I also was not a huge fan of it, but again, in the arena, it does go off. I was like, oh, okay. And it was like near the end of the show, and I was like, oh, like, I get it. I get what they were going for. Yeah. Oh, did he?
Jeff did say that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Jeff was like, you remember we went to the Monster X concert? He was like, you know what? But The Real is not that bad. It's like, you got to just give it a chance. He said something along those lines.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, we're talking about Jeff Benjamin, a very good friend of ours.
Shout out.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, what's next? I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see if they actually still continue this kind of rocky thing because I do like it. I think it makes sense as a direction. I think honestly, after you mentioned the whole like new metal thing, I would love for them to go in that. I think they kind of can just embrace the noisiness because I'm here for it now, honestly, after having experienced it. So they should just go all out with that. Like I would love them to go more intense. I think that'd be really interesting. And I think they're at a point, it's interesting because I think they're at a point in their career where they could kind of take more risk if they want to, but if they want to be more commercially successful globally, since there is that big push in the Western market for them, I'm curious if they'll then have to try and balance trying to appeal to the Western sound. So I'm more just curious how they're going to try and balance those two, kind of where they want to go artistically versus trying to stay commercially viable and relevant globally. So yeah, I'm more just intrigued. I kind of am just curious what they are going to come up with. So yeah.
Right. The song is officially a bibbity boppity bop.
Yes, it is. All right. So ATEEZ, what do you all think about Guerrilla? And what do you hope is next in the world? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below or message us at CCTV Pops on all social media. You can also join us at Patreon, where we'd love to get to know you and you can help us decide our next episode topics. ATEEZ 101, maybe, if you want it. Please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. And for our listeners, please give us a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice. Until next time, that's Shan.
That's good.
And we are CCTV.